be prepared, right? Just by happenstance, we happened to walk into CEOs of company. We met the CEO of Cloudflare. We met the CEO of Avalanche. Not like somebody who works for Avalanche, the actual creator of Avalanche. We met the CEO of USDC, the number one stable coin and crypto company. We met the CEO of Forbes. Not because we just happened to be walking into these people. So be prepared for the opportunity. When they heard what we were doing, they said, you know what the next thing they said? How can we partner? How can we help? Right? I met one of the leading financial institutions in India. And he said, look, I love what you guys are doing. How can we work together? How can we help educate? And so networking at that level is different. It's just different. I also learned that the conversations that we are having need to be more advanced. And they need to be more advanced. They need to be more, number one, encouraging, and they need to be more thought provoking, because these are high level conversations, and it's not just the people that we're walking into, but I'm listening to the conversations that people are having. I'm like, wow, this is incredible. This is interesting. Like the conversation that they have in our world changing, right? So when people are saying, yeah, this is where they come to meet, yeah, they are having world conversations. When we were inside a Palantir, I'm listening to the conversations, the AI conversations that they're having, the crypto conversations that they're having, the investment conversations that we're having. We're talking about nature, right? Like
I'm gonna talk about that.
I know you're gonna go there, but it's like we're like behind in the terms of the level of topics that we're actually having as a community. So of course, are we gonna sit down with people that we met? Of course. That's the goal, to now have them share their expertise. And there's a lot of people, there's people that look like us. I met a brilliant man from Jamaica, and I'm not even gonna say his name because we're gonna sit down with him and share his story, but incredible. One of the best architects in the world, has never had his story told. We met him on stage. Okay, well now we get to share his information with the world, and we get to share it with our community, because it's only gonna uplift us and help us grow and advance. And that's what this is all about. That's what this is about. How do we advance? How do we get into these spaces that they never thought we could be in? So yeah, Dre is a genius. People look like, why? Dre is a genius because he went there 1 year, and the next year he said, I'm going to do something to make sure that we're represented. There's people who've been there for 10 years and have never thought that.
And never
thought that.
Absolutely.
The fact that he brought us, the fact that he brought Fat Joe, the fact that he brought Dougie Fresh, the fact that we were there with the Cultural Leadership Fund, it tells you, all right, representation is coming, and it's going to continue.
So let me.
We have to be prepared when we walk into those rooms.
Let me just say some stuff that I learned. Well, first, the first day we get there at night, we run into Robert Smith, and the last day that we're there at night, we run into Robert Smith. That tells you what kind of vibe it was. Ran into him twice, the first day and the last day. Spoke to him for about 40 minutes each time. Very insightful conversation. All right. One of the things that was very insightful for me when I was actually listening, because it's just different things that go on, different pop-up events and different symposiums, different things of nature. So I went to one, and they were talking about the guy was talking about nature being a board member on his board, and he was like, they set a precedent where a company already did it, and they put nature as a board member. And so he was saying for his company, he's going to put I believe it was the Atlantic Ocean. The Atlantic Ocean is going to be a board member. But so when you put nature as a board member, you got to have somebody that represents the interest of the nature. So it's like I could put Mount Kilimanjaro as a board member, but then I got to have an actual somebody to actually speak for that entity. So it'd be like, all right, Troy, you represent Mount Kilimanjaro. But what he's going to do is, and this is going to be the first time this has ever happened, he's going to have AI. He's going to have artificial intelligence represent the ocean. So the ocean is a board member, and then he's going to have AI. It's going to be the first AI board member in America, I believe, or he's not even based in America. It's going to be the first AI board member. His goal is to have the first AI board member. So this Web3 talk, heavy in Davos. ChatGPT, AI, Web3, not really so much crypto, but heavy.
Africa.
I'm gonna talk about Africa.
Okay.
Heavy. Web 3.0 was probably 70% of the conversations that I was around.
Yeah.
Like I said, from every aspect of it, but heavy on artificial intelligence, heavy on the ChatGPT, heavy on all of that stuff, like the stuff that we've been talking about, but just next level. Like having an AI. Imagine having AI as a board member. Like we having a board conversation with 5 people, and then there's an actual AI computer that's having a conversation with us about the direction that Apple should go in as a company. And then they was talking about how AI was getting programmed in Saudi Arabia, and they was programming it with the religion, and they was teaching AI, the religion, and kind of looking at the future that way. And they was just saying how different governments throughout the world were already using AI to program for the next 100 years. The AI conversations is crazy. That was mind blowing.
Mm-hmm.
The Africa House, definitely went to the Africa House. That was dope as well. Very insightful conversation over there as well. And they were saying, their goals and their plans as far as Africa. That was extremely insightful because they were saying that it's 55 countries in Africa.
55, yep.
And only, I think, 3 countries currently have unrestricted passport. So it's like, so they were saying like for Americans can go to Africa and travel more freely in Africa than Africans from Africa. Because it's like, so many different politics with different countries and like, so they're like, they have to open up their borders for Africans. So that was like a major push where they want to try to get to a point where, like how in Europe, where you can just travel all throughout Europe if you're part of the EU. So they was like, they were working on trying to have a more united African front for trade, travel, and they were saying that when they was talking about that, one of the reporters had asked them like, do you think that this is a good idea, like to have like unity, like to have, and they were like, well, the EU is one of the most successful things that's ever happened, and did you ask them? Did you ask them if it was a good idea when they decided to do it? So I thought it was interesting to kind of hear that play, but from an African perspective, and they were saying that another thing that he said, I forgot the gentleman's name, but they were saying like, I think he was talking about cocoa, and he was like, the Europeans don't like the cocoa, they gotta change the way it tastes, and he was like, well, we have enough people in Africa where we don't have to worry about the Europeans. He was like, we don't have to export. Yep. Mm-hmm. Like we could, like they're on pace to have 2 billion people. Mm-hmm. So he was like, that's a misconception as well. Like where it's like, we don't have to try to cater to outside people. There's enough resources and enough people, because I think 1/5 of the world's population over the next 20 years is going to be in Africa. They have the youngest population in the world, and they have the fastest growing population in the world. So they was really talking about really controlling their resources, really opening up their borders. But this is what I'm saying. Like we having these and y'all trying to debate me about Illuminati, and y'all talking about whether Shannon Sharp is fighting with LeBron James, and if Ian didn't give the access for Madison Square Garden, like.
That's why I moved to Mexico.
Listen.
You don't know, say can't hear you.
Listen, we on the plane. We on the plane to get to Davos. On the plane to get to Davos from Newark, New Jersey. On the plane, sitting next to each other, is Oliver Stone and Andrew Ross Sorkin.
Crazy.
Oliver Stone. If you don't know who Oliver Stone is, Oliver Stone, he created the movie Wall Street. Andrew Ross Sorkin works for CNBC, and he created Billions. So the guy that created Billions and the guy that created Wall Street sitting next to each other. Andrew Ross Sorkin spoke to him. He said, "Yo, I've been watching your content for 3 years." He said, I wrote a letter to NBC 3 years ago and said, I don't know who these guys are or what they're doing, but you need to sign them. You need to work with them.
You need to find them and sign them.
You need to find them and sign them.
Hi, Mary.
But I'm
Straight
just,
up.
We can talk again.
this is the conversations that I'm having. Then I'm coming back and I gotta argue with people on Twitter.
Don't argue with the people on Twitter.
This is the kind of nonsense. That's what I'm saying. So it's like, all right, at what point it's a risk reward ratio? At what point do you stop arguing with Twitter, and now you don't know where I live. Now it's over. Now the show.
I vote right now.
Now there is no more market.
Playa, Dubai, Ghana, hey, Big Fendi. Hey, we can wrap this shit up today. What we doing? I'm moving to New York right now. Edgewater, what's happening?
Edgewater, New Jersey.
You already know. We hawking something, you know what I mean? We doing. I'll go to some caucus. I come. Hey, AB, set it up. I'll come shoot every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. What's happening? Pre-record all the episodes. Make it a series.
It's all love, man. Shout out to everybody. Love, man. We just lead with love. We just gonna keep leading with love.
My graduates from my school being Forbes, bag drop.
Bag drop.
A mic drop, bag drop.
Bag drop.